Lock it, I guess. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Hello. Today's session, the first session, is called the KCTCS Intranet, Easy as Pie. I named it this for two reasons. I really like pie. And typically when you talk about pie, people have a good feeling about pie. So by the end of today's session, I want everybody to have a good feeling about the intranet. Okay? So we're just going to dive in. We're going to get started talking about the intranet. If you have any questions throughout today's session, feel free to speak up. Today's first session is really an overview session, so learning about the pieces and parts that make up the intranet. The way we like to start this is to talk about where we began with the intranet, where it all started. And that was back in October of 2013. We launched what we consider the publishing layer of the KCTCS Intranet. What that means is this is where you as an employee go to consume information. So when we launched it, it was HR content and HR self-service. So you'd go to find your paycheck, you would go to update your tax information. Over time, this area has evolved. We have moved additional content that was on the point into this layer. So if you're looking for business services content, that lives on the publishing layer of the KCTCS Intranet. Also, if you have need information such as forms or KCTCS system-wide policies, that currently lives within the intranet. So everything that's on this publishing layer is for your consumption as an employee. We took a user-centric approach when we built the intranet, and what we did is we went around the system and we asked employees, how do you think about content when you think about it internally? You know, some individuals would say, well, I know I need to go to HR, for instance, for benefits information. And then other people would say, you know, I don't really care if it's HR or payroll or who it is that I need to go to. I just know I need to fill out my timesheet. I need to, you know, finish open enrollment. They know that there was a particular task they needed to complete. So what we tried to do is build out a section on the intranet called I Need To. It started out small because we had just one or two areas of content, but over time we hope to expand this I Need To area into other content areas for employees. If you are an individual though that thinks about content in a more of about, so you know you need to go to human resources to find out about benefits, you can do that as well. There's an area on the intranet called the Info Center, and that's content about topics, so about business services, about the human resources. We have learn on demand content, and eventually we're going to have content for ORPA. I'm working with ORPA and marketing and other areas to expand that area out. So this is what we call the publishing layer of the intranet. This is where you're going to consume that content. In October 2013, we also launched an area called search.kctcs. Has anybody actually been to search.kctcs? A few people. This is an enterprise search center. What that means is we can crawl information or index information in systems, and it can all be pulled back into this one search. So this is similar to like a Google type experience, but for our internal content. Right now, this search center is crawling information on that publishing layer of the intranet, but also in SharePoint Online. And we're going to talk a lot about SharePoint Online today, but SharePoint Online is where all of our team site information is. So it's crawling and indexing that information.
Can you describe what a team site is to everyone?
Sure. A team site is an area where you can collaborate and share documents with team members. Just as kind of a brief description.
Create those?
Anybody can start up a team site, absolutely. The creation actually happens through a process at the system office. Yep. And I'll tell you exactly how you go about doing that here in just a little bit. So this search center is secure to you. So that means if you perform a search, it's only going to pull back information that you have access to. So if you have access to a team site, and maybe someone down the hall doesn't have access to that team site, when they perform that search, they're not going to get results because they don't have access to that. So it is secure to you and only the areas that you have. In the future, we hope to be able to index more information. So what that means is if you have file shares that are currently on campus, we could index that information and it could be pulled back into this search center for your search results. So this is an area that's going to expand over the next several months.
Is that going to have a link then to the other one for the employees?
Yes.
So you don't have to go back out?
Actually, the two of them are linked together, and when I talk about navigation, I'll show you those pieces. So the KCTCS Intranet continues to evolve, and you know, the next year and a half, there's a lot of things coming on board. Today's session, though, we're going to talk about the big picture and all the pieces that make up the intranet. Our newest addition, which is SharePoint Online, that team site environment, we're going to talk about 10 things you need to know about the intranet, and then we'll talk about the road ahead, and then the last 5 to 10 minutes I'll do a demo so that you all can see it in action. So this is an infographic that we put together to kind of visually describe the pieces and parts that make up the intranet. So we wanted something that was kind of simple for individuals to get their mind wrapped around. So we broke this down into the areas that make up the publishing layer and the SharePoint Online. So to begin, this area down at the very bottom in the green space, that is what we call the on-premise area. What that means is those environments are on servers that we maintain locally. So we have a lot more control over what happens there. And what currently lives there is that publishing layer. So where you're going to consume content for HR, that's the SharePoint 2013 area. And then we have enterprise search, so that search center that I just talked about. Both of those areas are maintained on local servers that we have control over. Okay? Then we have this area in the blue. The area in the blue is what we call the Office 365 Cloud. That means that Microsoft maintains those servers. So we don't have nearly as much control over what happens up here. They actually keep things updated and they push new updates and things out to us. About 2.5 years ago as a system, we deployed email in Office 365. So you may interact with your email on an Outlook client on your desktop, but that information actually is living in Office 365. And then in this past summer, we launched an area called OneDrive for Business, which is also in Office 365. And what this is a personal storage space for you and your work-related documents. We kind of have a saying, OneDrive is for one person, and that one person is you. And this area is meant for you to store your documents, but you can also share documents in this area. The one thing that we always recommend, though, is to use the OneDrive space for more ad hoc or temporary sharing. So if you need to maybe share a document, for example, I need to share something with Tammy. It was just a one-time share, maybe a couple of days I needed her to see this document. I could put it out here in OneDrive, share it with her, and it's kind of a temporary thing. Now, if I needed to share something more regularly with Tammy, you know, every week or every day, maybe once a year, there's a certain thing that happens on campus and we need to share these documents, I would use SharePoint Online. I would create a team site for that collaboration and that type of sharing. That gives it a more permanent space for that information to live.
So can we access OneDrive for Business through 365, through the email 365?
Yes.
I can't.
You cannot?
Really?
I cannot.
We could take at home.
OneDrive, that's mine, but I cannot access the KCTCS one.
Okay.
It may have to do with how you log in
Yeah.
from home.
We could look, let's look at that.
We'll take a look.
I have the desk copy, that logs into my computer. All I have is the 365, the web.
You can get into web mail.
Mm-hmm.
You can't get into email, but through the Outlook web.
Yeah, I get into email by going through outlook.com KCTCS, but there's not a link to this because it's causing me a little bit of a problem.
Well, they moved it. There's now a menu button in the upper left-hand corner. It's been an Outlook web client.
It's not there.
And OneDrive should pop up in there, which you must see
It does, my personal one, but not KCTCS.
The personal one shows up.
We'll take a look at it.
Always have been.
My turn. It's how you're logging.
Okay.
We'll take a look at it. Yep, absolutely. So this OneDrive for Business space, it also has unlimited storage. So you can put as much stuff that you want to into this area. With that comes a lot of responsibility. We always suggest that you think about your content, how you want to organize it early on so that area doesn't get too much too quickly as far as organization goes. The one limitation here currently is each file is 2 gigabyte a limit. So you can have as much 2 gigabyte files as you want, but there is a limit to just that one file, the individual file. They have said that in the next few months that's going to be up to 10 gigabyte per file, so a lot of space. The OneDrive for Business area also I want to note, by default, anything you put in there is secure to you unless you put it in a folder called Shared with Everyone. There is a folder in your OneDrive space called Shared with Everyone, and it indeed means Shared with Everyone, and that includes students. So if you put something in that folder, know that it's available for anyone to see. Some individuals have chosen to just delete that folder altogether, so they go in there, delete it, then you don't have to worry about it. If you feel like you need to do that for sure. But otherwise, just know that anything outside of that folder is secure to you unless you choose to share it with someone else. Okay? So the big portion of today we're going to talk about is SharePoint Online, and that's the team site collaboration area. So to start talking about SharePoint Online, what really is it? It is Office 365 offering, so that means you can get to your team site information from anywhere at any time. Okay, you can go home, log into your machine at home, and you should be able to get into your team sites without any issue. You don't have to be just on a KCTCS device to get to this information. Team sites can be around projects, so if you have a project, even if it lasts a month, you could have a team site so that your team can collaborate in that one area and share documents in one spot. Also, the team sites are secure to your team members. So that means if I had a team with 10 individuals, only those 10 individuals that had access to the site could see that information. A team site can be as many as your entire college if it needs to be, or just 2 individuals that do work in a cycle or need to share documents regularly. It is flexible according to your business needs, so as a team site owner, you get to decide what your team site really looks like. If your team needs a space to share documents, we have that available. You can build document libraries. If your team needs to have a discussion board or needs to share calendar events, all those things are possible directly out of the box with the team site. So you can, as a team site owner, gets to decide what it is your team needs to do and what is available to them. It's also very clean and consistent from site to site. So if you participate in multiple team sites, you'll navigate from one into another, and you shouldn't have any issues navigating or being able to participate because they're all very similar in how you would interact with them. So that's a positive. We did go through team site migration back in the summer. There was about 260 team sites that were identified for migration into SharePoint Online. So we migrated team sites from the Point into SharePoint Online. There should have been communications that went out to team site owners. If you own a team site and are unsure where your team site went to, just let us know and we can track that down and find that information for you. In the future, requesting a new team site. Anybody can request a new team site. We have asked that you go through a local IT or web lead for team site. Request it locally, they'll send it to the system office. Eventually, we hope to have more of a self-service request model, so any individual can just request it and it'll let a local individual know that that request was being made.
And who do we request it to? The help desk?
Help desk, yes. But you said, what about the Point?
Yeah, where did I go?
We missed that thing, right? That always gets a good chuckle.
No, not really.
Yeah, I know. Good news, we said goodbye to the Point back in September, actually. So it's been gone for quite a bit now. Every bit of the content that was on the Point was either migrated to the publishing layer. So if it was HR or business services content, that was moved to the publishing layer of the intranet. Or if it was team site information, that was moved to SharePoint Online. Okay, so no more Point. If you think something might still live on the Point, it doesn't. It doesn't exist anymore. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the 10 things we need to know about the intranet. I'm not going to go through this list because I'm going to start out with number 1. Okay? The first thing on the list is the Training and Learning Center. We put together an area called the Training and Learning Center that would share SharePoint training documentation and training videos. So if you have a need or a question about how to do something on your team site, you can do that. Come to the Training and Learning Center, and it's got a big green button there that says SharePoint Online. That will take you into the area for SharePoint Online training. This area started out with just SharePoint documentation, but over time it has expanded to other IT related information. So if you have questions about OneDrive for Business, that content lives here. It'll talk you through what OneDrive is and how to get things going with your OneDrive.
You're going to show us where to find that later.
Yes,
right?
absolutely, yep. And then also there's link documentation. So if you all have Link 2013 installed, you have a question maybe about how to start a conference or something of that nature, there's documentation out there for Link as well. Over time, this area will expand to additional IT related documentation. So for instance, if you have questions about how to use Office, or you have questions about how to use PeopleSoft, we hope to have that information in this area as well. So one way to get help is through that area. The second thing on this list is navigation. So one thing we always get asked is, how do you get to SharePoint Online? How do you get to the TLC? There is a gray bar at the very top of the publishing layer. That's called the sweet bar. That's what Microsoft calls that group of links, so we'll continue to call it that group. That way, if you're reading through training documentation and it says sweet bar, you know what it's referencing. It's referencing these links at the very top. One of the links in this gray bar is a link to SharePoint Online. So that's going to take you to the top layer of SharePoint Online. There's also a link in this gray bar as of about 2 weeks ago called Sites. And I'm going to talk to you all about Sites here in a little bit. But the link that's called Sites is going to take you to a page that you can personalize with your team sites. Okay? The other link is a link in the blue navigation called Teams. If you go to Teams, that's also going to take you to a listing of about 10 teams that you have access to. And if you have access to more than 10, there's a link that'll take you into the More list there. So that's one way you can navigate into SharePoint Online. If you go to search, you'll notice that same navigation. You'll see SharePoint Online, you'll see sites, you'll also see the KCTCS Intranet and search. So if you're in those areas and need to go to search or need to come back to the intranet, that navigation is consistent between those two areas. When you go to SharePoint Online, it's going to look like this. This is the top page of SharePoint Online. This is in Office 365, this page. You can tell that you're in Office 365 because the navigation changes, and you'll see the Office 365 anchor. So now you know you're in SharePoint or Office 365. On this page, you're going to see your team sites. You're going to see a blog area. Our team is blogging. We try to do it at least once a week, more if we can. And that is a way for you to stay on top of new features, new things that are getting rolled out in Office 365. As we learn about them, also within the intranet, if maybe we're going to change navigation or new content's going to get added, we'll write a blog about that so that you can stay aware of new things that are happening with the intranet. You'll also see popular SharePoint training on this page. So that's another way you can get to the TLC through this area. The second part of navigation is the footer navigation. So if you're on the publishing layer, if you look down at the very bottom, there's a green bar that goes across the bottom. If you select that, it's going to accordion up. And there is links to SharePoint Online. There's links to the intranet publishing layer, links to search, and then if you need to go to the TLC, there's also a link that says need help, and that'll take you to the Training and Learning Center. So that's another way you can navigate to that area. The last piece about navigation is a new addition that they launched within our area about 4 weeks ago, I guess, at this point, and that is called the App Launcher. When you went to Office 365 about 5 weeks ago, you used to see links that were in this area of the screen that went to Outlook, went to your calendar, went to OneDrive. They kept rolling out new areas, so things were getting a little too much to keep it just in this sweet bar area. So they condensed everything down into what they call the App Launcher. So if you see this little grid-like icon in the left corner, you select that, it's going to pop out a menu with your apps that you can go use. So for instance, Outlook, if you need to get to OneDrive, it should be here. Your site's landing page is here, so that page where you can customize what sites you follow. So all those areas live within this App Launcher. This is a pretty vital piece to be able to navigate around Office 365. All right, number 3. So on the point, if you had a team site, as a site owner, you could go in and add a document library or add a calendar, add a list. All those things are still available, but in SharePoint Online, they call them apps. So it's a new term for something that we are used to in the past. But just know that if you are a team site owner and you want to add a new document library, you just go add an app and then pick document library from the apps. So each app is available out of the box. So for instance, calendar app, list app, discussion board app, announcements app, all those things are available out of the box within your team site. So new terminology for something that we're used to in the past. You can get to the Add App by going to your team site and selecting the little gear icon at the top of your team site. That's going to take you to a menu that's pretty important for team site owners and for team members even to be able to navigate your site. There's a link on there called Site Contents. If you go to site contents, you're going to get a page that one of the options there is to add an app. That site contents area is an area as a team member that you can see all the apps that make up that site that you have access to. So for instance, if you had access to a document library, you could go to site contents and view that document library from that area. And we'll get into this a lot more later on in the deep dive session. The fourth item on the list is the ribbon. In SharePoint 2007, which is what the point was based upon, we didn't have this ribbon interface yet. Microsoft deployed that in, I think, their 2010 products. So it's kind of similar to what you're used to using Word or Excel now. So you go into your team site, you want to interact with your document library or list. At the very top of your page is a ribbon, and you'll utilize that ribbon to interact with your documents or with your list items. So for instance, if this is a document library I'm within, I could select the library tab and I would get icons to perform some type of function. So know that this ribbon is there. By default, when you come to a document library, it will default to this browse button. So it kind of looks like there's not even a ribbon there, but you'll see a couple of extra tabs. Once you select those tabs is when the actual ribbon is exposed.
I don't understand the difference between a library and, I forgot the name of it. And well, no, I don't understand. To me, a library is like a storage place, right?
Yes.
You've got documents in there.
Sure.
So why do we have that in addition to OneDrive?
The document libraries within your team site are meant for more team collaboration. So if you have multiple people that need to share and edit documents.
So okay.
Right. The OneDrive space is essentially a library, but it's meant more just for you and temporary sharing.
Okay.
Yep.
Am I the only one here who's never heard of any of this stuff? Because I have, this is brand new to me.
I've never heard of it.
The majority of the team sites that were in existence before the point, very few people were involved.
The point was, yeah.
The point was the same thing, just it was an older version. That was SharePoint 2007.
Yeah.
And this is 2013.
Yeah.
There just weren't very many people, I don't think, that interacted with it.
I avoided it like the plague.
Yeah.
That's what we heard.
Make people use it.
Yeah.
Because I know I'm going to be the one that trains people on this, so I've got to get this.
It won't be hard because most of the faculty staff
Thomas
stuff
is
is going
most
over
of the training, so he's going to help all the.
Well,
internet.
No, you
and
don't
we have the
understand how this
option of
stuff rolls out,
setting
which
the
is
web
part of
pages
the
just to
rollout
go, the
rules.
employee web pages to go to this. We have the option of setting the employee web pages to go to this if we'd like, so we can talk about later. You need dictators.
So this ribbon is new to the way we interact with team sites, but honestly I think it's a lot easier to interact with your team sites now that we're utilizing the ribbon, mostly because we're used to that in other Office products. Number 5. Before I go into number 5, any questions about 1 through 4? Yes.
I'm not sure this falls in 1 through 4, but I think it might, and I'm afraid I'll forget my question. I am on the main page here where it says my team sites. I have those 10 sites.
Yes.
I clicked on more teams, and I have been added to a team. I know I can get to it because the guy sent me the link
Okay.
from the system office, but it doesn't ever show up in
And does it show up? Okay, yep. Do you have more than 50 teams on more teams? You do not.
Please God, never.
Okay. Because that second page, more teams, will only pull back 50 sites.
No.
So let's, after today's session, remind me, we'll take a look and I'll see where exactly that site
It
lives.
just would be nice to be able to get to it from this thing
Absolutely.
instead of searching for that link in email and having to go in that way.
Number 5 is one that might be even easier for you to be able to navigate to. So this is the one thing, if you take nothing out of today's session, take away number 5, and that's the follow sites piece. What Follow Sites allows you to do is actually customize an area with team sites that you care about. So in your case, you went to My Teams, you didn't see your site there. You should have seen it there. We'll figure that one out. But, you know, maybe there's 20 sites there, but you only really work with 3 or 4 of those sites on a daily basis, and those are the sites you want to follow. Those sites at that point will show up on a page called Sites, and it's going to look like this. It's going to show you sites that you're following. It'll suggest sites to you based on the permission you have to the site. So if there's, you know, you have permission to 10, it may suggest a site for you to follow. But you can also navigate into the other areas of the intranet from this page. So these links to the publishing layer of the intranet, or to search, for instance. But these sites I'm following are only the sites that you care about, that you're interacting with every single day. You can follow a site and then unfollow it. So let's say you're working on a project, the team only lasts 3 months, you follow it. You could come in here, hit the little ellipses or 3 dots next to the item, and one of the options there is to unfollow it. That doesn't mean you don't have access to it anymore. It just means it won't show up on this page. To follow a site, you go to the team site itself, and in the upper right corner is a link that says follow. When you select that link, it's at that point going to show on your site's landing area. So
you have to know the name of the team to get to it.
Yes. So that email that you had that had the link to the site, that's one way you could get there. We'll figure out why it's not showing up though on your site's page.
I see some weird stuff too. I'm also a member of, for instance, the KCTCS annual budget managers.
Yes.
I can put this on my
Yeah.
evaluation. I didn't know I was doing that.
Yeah. If you are seeing, yes.
Can I ask you to go back
Taking
one
myself away
slide?
from
Sure.
that.
And assuming there are no stupid questions in training, right?
Absolutely.
The Blackboard, the second one at the top,
Yes.
that means Blackboard team site, that's not Blackboard.
Yes, that is actually taking you into Blackboard itself. So if you're a faculty member and you need to jump into Blackboard, then you can utilize that to get to Blackboard from that area. This area is a promoted links area. It is one thing that we do have control over in Office 365. And so we were getting a lot of questions about how to get to the TLC, how do I get back to Blackboard now that I'm in here? So we added those links for individuals. Yeah.
So if you're on a team site and you follow other sites, everybody on that team is now following those sites, or just you?
Just you. Yes,
making
it's
sure
it's personalized just to you. This page is personalized to you, so things that you're following are only going to be things that you see here. Yep.
Sure,
Yep, absolutely. Good question. And I think this is this helps a lot with those navigation pieces that you were talking about earlier. Yeah, go
Every
ahead.
time we talk, I come up with another question.
Sure.
So if I created a team at some point,
Mm-hmm.
I guess there are things that I could put in place, restrictions, so that only certain people could get to it, or I can make it just generic so that Emily sees this team out there and she thinks, hey, I want to follow that. So she decides to follow it, even though she's not
Absolutely.
actively working with it.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. And that goes back to what he was saying. He's seeing the budget manager's team site. The one thing that I did want to mention is, so you go to your My Teams page, and right now you're seeing 20 items. You feel like, why in the world am I seeing 20 items here? That's because the team site owner has chosen to open it to all employees. So in the case of that budget managers, they actually opened it up to all employees because I think they're utilizing certain chart field strings there that they think employees may need to utilize when filling out documentation and things. So if you needed to open it, we always recommend that there's a good business case before you open it to all employees, because in other cases, you get a lot of clutter where individuals are having to sort through things that maybe they don't necessarily need to see. So if you're a site owner and choose to open it to employees, know that there's a good business case there. Okay? Questions about following the sites? Okay. Go. So that's how you follow it. You go to your team site, you select the follow link in the right corner. This is a closer view of that. So right under where your image is, if you don't have an image loaded, the gear, you'll see a follow link. Number 6 on this list is Outlook integration. This is a piece that was around on the point, but not many people used it. But it's a neat feature that we like to let everybody know is available. If you have a team site, and on that team site you have a team calendar, you can choose to integrate that with your Outlook calendar. What that means is you go to your team site, you go to the calendar tab within your calendar, and there's a link here called Connect with Outlook. It will pull your team calendar side by side with your personal calendar. It'll make a connection with Outlook. So this is beneficial if you have a lot of team events and you need to make sure that you have availability with your personal calendar. You could create an overlay. Also, if you have access to add events, you can add events directly on this Outlook calendar. It'll sync back up with your team calendar in the cloud. So you input it here and it syncs to everybody's calendar. Yeah?
And you have to do that for, if you have the ability to add an event, once you plug it in, it automatically syncs, you don't have to do anything else.
Nothing else, yep, absolutely. And so,
Cannot invite attendees.
yes, that is the one thing.
Cannot invite attendees to calendar items that are in SharePoint. So that's the major drawback to that calendar. A lot of people like to invite 25 people and make sure that they want to know if they accepted or did not
Right.
accept or whatever. Can't do that.
So you can make an appointment, you can't make a meeting. I mean, that's the distinction for me in Outlook.
Yeah.
between those two things.
Yeah.
So there's a workaround to actually make a link through there.
This calendar is meant for just your team members. So everybody on the team can see this calendar. You add an event, that team sees the calendar. Yeah, it's not really meant for the meeting request or, you know, booking a room, that kind of, that thing.
Project.
Yes, absolutely. If you had deadlines, you need the entire team to know about it, this would be a good spot that everybody could see it and you're only maintaining it one spot. Absolutely.
And when you connect that to your Outlook calendar, that's only for your view. Your team is not seeing.
Right. This is, again, your personal view. And one question we always get asked is, can individuals at this point now see my personal calendar? That is, they can only see what's entered on your team calendar. Your personal calendar is still personal. Okay? Number 7 on this list is a new addition to SharePoint 2013, and that is the Office Online web apps. Now, I think this is a pretty neat feature. What this allows you to do is directly edit your documents within the browser. So there's a new feature called Word Online, Excel Online, PowerPoint Online. You go into your document library or even in OneDrive now. You select the document. It's going to give you an option to either edit in Word, which is on the client on your desktop, or to edit it in Word Online. So you select Word Online. It opens it directly within the browser. You can make your edits. This becomes very valuable if you're on a machine that maybe doesn't have Office. You can now make edits to your documents without having that actually installed on your machine. The edit in Word Online also allows you to do something called co-authoring, which means multiple people can be in a document at any given time and make edits in real time. So for instance, in this case, I was in this document. It put a cursor icon where an individual was in the document with me and where they were making their edits. Also in this top right corner, it showed that someone else was logged into the document with me. So you can see all the individuals that's in this document at any given time. Yes?
When I was at a meeting recently and they were doing this, they were showing us how to get to these things. And And we all logged in. I mean, I was logged in as Rhonda on my computer.
Uh-huh.
But I showed up as like sheep.
As-
And like, they were giving us like sheep and ox and lamb.
Okay. I don't know about that one. That's the first one.
It was really weird.
And that was within Office
I
365?
am not making this up.
Did they know what?
No, I mean, we all logged in. We had to use our credentials
To get in,
site.
yeah.
I don't want to-
Right. Oh, for
I
that
promise you
particular,
that I'm not making this up.
okay. All right,
We show our names.
okay. Yeah, I've not heard that one. I've not actually heard that you could do that, but that's a good one to research. I don't know about that one, but we'll take a look at it. Now I know, so I won't be alarmed whenever I log in and it starts oinking. But this is a pretty neat feature, especially if you have a tight deadline, you need to make changes really quickly. You can be in there making changes. And we'll actually look at this in this afternoon session about how you could go about doing that authoring. Number 8 on this list is the login experience, and this has changed in the past month or so. If you go to the intranet, you should not have to log in if you're on a KCTCS device, okay? So if you log into your computer in the morning with your credentials and you go to the intranet, you should not have to log in again. When you go to SharePoint Online, you should not have to log in. It's going to pass your credentials from your machine into SharePoint Online as long as you're on that KCTCS device.
There's a qualifier to that statement. It's actually a group policy that does that, and the group policy is to be applied to the machines in question.
Okay.
In general, that's done. There are exceptions.
There is some exceptions,
There are
okay.
exceptions, not many.
Okay.
And for a while, we were doing the same thing even with Firefox.
Okay.
Confused the living daylights out of our students, so we backed that, changed back out.
Right.
Firefox would allow for a prompt.
Okay, yep.
So
That's the one exception to that rule, at least, is that you will get an additional prompt if you're using Firefox. It'll ask for that credential. Now, once you log in with your email and password, the first time you shouldn't have to log in after the fact. So if you go into a document and it's making you log in, let us know what's going on there. If you're on a non-KCTCS device or you're at home and you try to log into your team site, you'll get a prompt like this to enter your credentials. So if you're on your home computer. But that is the login experience. If you're having issues with logging in, obviously these guys can help you out. And then if we need to get involved, then we can. Ellipses. I always get asked what the ellipses is, and that is the 3 dots. So you see in an item, next to a folder, next to an item, you're going to see this throughout OneDrive, you're going to see this throughout your team sites. The 3 dots means that there's more information. So you select the ellipses, it's going to give you a menu, and typically in that menu is going to be certain actions, delete, view properties, whatever it might be. I always like to tell individuals about this because you may, prefer to work with your team using the ellipses. A lot of times though, the things in the ellipses, so the delete options, things of that nature, are also things that you can use within the ribbon. So it's according to how you want to go about doing something. If you'd rather work with the ribbon to do those functions, then you can use the ribbon. If you would rather use this ellipses menu, you can use it. Okay? Last but not least is we want to always be improving. So the way we do that is for feedback from you guys. So if you are on the intranet and you see something that could be changed that you think would benefit employees, let us know that. If you see something that you really like, let us know that so that we won't change it. So as much feedback that we can get, the better. Good, bad, or ugly, we want to hear about it. And that's the way we improve. We don't want to get to the point, right? We don't want to get to where people have that feeling. We want people to think about pie instead. So we always want to be improving. And before I go quickly into the demo, I want to talk about the road ahead. So you've seen we've come a long way even just in the past year with the intranet. We've launched a lot of new areas. We're going to be putting more content into the intranet. So we have, we're currently working with ORPA, we're working with Technology Solutions, marketing at the system office, but we do realize that we need more local content. So I know that's one thing that you all had mentioned is getting things off that public website and into the intranet. That's what we want to do over the next year. We really want to focus on building a foundation for local content within that publishing layer. So with that, we're currently working with a couple of colleges, moving some documents in there and getting kind of an idea about what that could look like. So that's one of the things we're going to be working on. We're also going to be working on advancing search. So that search center that we talked about where you're currently pulling back information from our team sites and SharePoint Online, we hope to be able to index more information, but we also hope to build better refiners so that you can find your information more easily as well. So new advancements coming in that area. We also hope to do more integration. So currently there is a process within PeopleSoft Financials around the travel process. That should launch within the next few months, and hopefully that's a piece that we can also pull within the intranet along with that HR self-service information. And then last but not least on this list is an area called Enterprise Social. This is a new piece that could really change the way we communicate, the way we interact as an organization. Basically, this is using a platform called Yammer, and that will be within the Office 365 area. And it's going to allow us to kind of have a news feed type environment where you can see everything that you kind of care about. So you can follow documents, you can follow conversations, you can follow a peer that works down the hall and maybe they blog and you want to know about, you know, the next big thing that they're working on. So it can really pull that information to you based on what you want to know about. You can create groups and have conversations. This is a piece that we're still doing a lot of discovery on, but we hope to have it available in the next 6 to 8 months for sure. Okay, so that is the presentation itself, but I do want to do a demo. Do you all have questions before I do the demo? Yes.
I'm not sure that I can articulate this in an intelligent way, so bear with me. I'm wondering if a team site has the capability to track views of something, and can you put any kind of a document in there? Like, could I put a Captivate training in there?
Yeah, absolutely, yep.
And could I track or allow, say, supervisors to track which of their employees are viewing that?
There is a capability on a team site called I know I'm not going to get this right, it's similar to content auditing. So you can see anybody that's came into a particular item at any given time. Something like that may work for that type of tracking. Also, as far as a team site goes, it's really all built on views of information. That's going to be a big portion of this afternoon session on how to build views within document libraries. And you can take that and apply that to really anything within your team site. So you can create different views for different individuals. You can build dashboards based on that for specific audiences. There's a lot of tracking as far as like project tracking, task tracking, things of that nature that are built out of the box within your team site. So I'm sure that there's something there. You know, we could have more discussion about the specifics, but yeah, absolutely, there's probably a way for you to do all those things within their team site.
Just for context, I'm kind of thinking of that in line with, say, an e-community course.
Yeah,
I'm wondering, would we have similar capabilities in SharePoint?
Are those e-community courses everybody that's enrolled, they're an actual student, right? So they would have an office, they would have an account, or this just kind of individuals kind of come in and out?
in the one, I don't know if there's multiple ways to do it, but in the one that I've created, you have to enroll in it.
Okay, and they're,
We're talking about in Blackboard?
Yeah, it's in Black, well, you go into Blackboard and then you go
Go to
into
e-community
e-community.
again.
okay, okay. I don't know the specifics of that particular thing, but we could definitely look into it. There's tons of out-of-the-box functionality as far as what you're trying to achieve through the team itself. And you could probably tie those together if you're using something within Blackboard and those individuals need kind of a outlet to get different materials. You could use a team site and link to it from that way, absolutely. Okay, well I'm going to do a demo. Let me see how much time. Okay, I have about 8 minutes or so. I want to show you how to navigate to SharePoint Online and show you those navigation pieces. Many of you are probably getting to the intranet from the faculty and staff page on the public web. And you visit the KCTCS Intranet. It should pass your credentials through.
Yes. Question about that.
Yes.
Is that an issue that's being addressed? Delivering secure and unsecure content?
I just noticed that this morning. Have y'all been seeing
I
that?
have not been seeing that
And
until
here's the
today.
first time.
Today? Okay.
It could be the browser version that we're using. This is ID8.
This is 8. Okay. It might be. I'll get with Matt.
Happier with this one.
Okay, yeah, we'll take a look at that. But that was the first I had noticed that was today. So on the main page of the KCTCS Intranet, this was actually redesigned over the holiday break, taking into some consideration some feedback we had got from employees about finding information. You'll find news, today's news, those publications are here on the intranet. You'll see your team site link is available now on the main page. You have paging to go through all the teams that you have access to. This top bar is available. You'll see a link within the top suite bar links called SharePoint Online. You'll see your sites link. So if you select that, that's going to take you to the sites that you are following. So that page that you've customized with your team sites. Also, that footer navigation at the bottom, if you select it, accordions up, you have your links that go to the different areas. So that's one way to navigate. I'm going to first go into SharePoint Online. Actually, I did want to show you one more thing. If you need to get to the TLC, there's a link here in this suite bar called Help. If you select Help, that will take you to the Training and Learning Center. So that's where that training documentation is. We'll go ahead and go into SharePoint Online. The SharePoint Online area is going to, let me refresh and see. It's not wanting to load the background for some reason.
Yeah, it won't show the boxes in IE.
IE8. Okay. Okay. You'll notice your team sites available here. You can also see the blog at the very bottom of the page. So if you want to come in here and take a look at the different stories, blog posts that we're doing based on the different features that may be deployed or new additions to the intranet, we try to add those as frequently as possible. Can come over to the Training and Learning Center. So you can see that background. The Training and Learning Center has those 3 main areas. This will expand over time. But if you need SharePoint online documentation, you can come to the Training and Learning Center, and that's going to have step-by-step guides for any particular topic that you want for your team site. So if you need to know how to create a new view, for example, you could select this training document it'll go into a description of what you may be trying to do and how you would go about doing that particular task. So that information is available to you. The one piece I did want to show you as well is the app launcher. So in Office 365, you go to that far left corner. When you select that grid icon, it's going to show all the apps that you have access to in the app launcher. One of those is going to be OneDrive. The other is going to be Sites. And so let's go to Sites and take a look at your Sites landing area. So once you get to your Sites landing area, you're going to see the sites you're following. So this is every site that I've went in and actually followed. You'll also see your promoted links at the top. So if I needed to go back to the intranet, I could come to this page and navigate back to the intranet publishing layer. If you follow a site and you need to stop following it, you can select the ellipses next to the team and say stop following. When you stop following, it falls off this page. You also notice when you select the ellipses, there's an option that says pin to the top. What that does is if you select pin to the top, it's going to pin that team site to the top of your list. This can come in handy if you have more than 10 or 15 on this sites you're following. That site will always be at the top of your list. So you have that ability to kind of customize and pin those sites to the top. Now if I had a team site that I did not follow yet, I could go to navigate to that team site, and under the gear icon on the team site itself, so in that upper right corner right under the gear is going to be a link that says follow. I'll say follow. It says now following the training team. When I navigate back to the sites area, you'll notice that the training team is now at the top of my list. So here's my training team that I just followed. So this can kind of be that hub navigational area that you can utilize so you don't have to filter through all those teams that you have access to. And real briefly, I want to show you the OneDrive area. If you go to the app launcher and go to OneDrive, this area is that personal storage space that is meant for you. You'll see that you can create folders, you can share documents singularly or within an entire folder. You can share that out as well. If you come to your OneDrive, it'll show different icons next to each of the items. This is kind of a quick glance to see that if a document's only shared with you or if it's shared with other individuals. If it's shared with you, there's a lock icon. If it's shared with other individuals, there's going to be an icon with 2 people. So that's a quick way for you to know. Also, when you share information within your OneDrive, it'll send an email to the individual you're sharing it with. And it'll say, hey, Amy has shared the video folder with you within her OneDrive. It'll have a link to that folder. Maybe I lose that email, I forget exactly where that folder is. I can come into my OneDrive and select shared with me in that left navigation, and that's going to show you everything that someone else has shared with you. So you don't have to always refer back to that email. You could come directly within this space to see those items. Okay? So
if I have saved something on the OneDrive.
Yes.
And so I'm using it as my flash drive.
Okay.
In other words. And I need to send that to Emily.
Mm-hmm.
And I do an attachment from OneDrive.